not exactly hidden. Okay, so our revealed locations are a drop site and safe house. The drop site is a small mobile home that's checked every 2 days. From what we understand, they will be checking it today around noon. Duromari explains as a small projector linked to her communicator shows the outline of Miro Noir's hometown on the wall in front of everyone. Two areas are highlighted, one a long-term parking area and the other a house in the middle of town. Which leaves the question as to whether we hit the drop site first or the safe house. What are their numbers and defenses? Dale asks curiously. There are 3 girls at this safe house and they take turns checking the drop site. This is a small distribution area, not very important and easy to give up. Meaning it's perfect for a lightning raid. We throw the credit to the local guard and make it look like bad luck they got caught as we use what we've learned to get to a juicier prize. No one gets alerted and we move on to our next step of getting to the root. This spot is a leaf. We need to get deeper. Koga realizes as he rubs his chin and smiles. This is perfect. We've been needing some milk runs to get people used to working as a unit of sorcerers rather than soldiers. We'll hit the small targets like this as often as we can in order to not only make a clean sweep but make sure everyone knows what to do and how to do it in the midst of battle. The bigger ones will be as careful as can be, but this? 2 random sorcerers and a matching pair of princesses is a beautiful level of overkill. No such thing as overkill, just open fire and reloading, Dale remarks as he re-examines the map. The URLA family is staring in horror at the map and he nods. I'll be taking out the safe house, it's way too close to the URLA family home for my liking. Shit, yay. That's not even 2 blocks away. Someone mutters and Dale nods grimly. Miss URLA, when you next get home, you're going to a much safer place. Dale promises, and the surprised woman just numbly nods. Near the back where they're cuddling together, Miro Noir gives Vernon a slight push and nods towards her. Vernon smirks as he sees the Cor Urla blush somewhat. They say nothing but make note of what's going on. Now, there are 3 priorities. Priority 1 is to get anyone they're victimizing out of the line of fire. Priority 2 is they do not get away. Number 3 is to damage nothing. Anything that can lead us to the next cell is worth a person's weight in Axiom Ride for this op. Remember, efficiency and control is the name of the game, Koga says. Dale, you're already in for taking the safe house. Go with Duromari and see if you can't just interrogate the criminals there. I need a princess and a sorcerer for the drop site. I'm in, Hiljut says, standing up with a grin. As am I. I need to get back into full practice. Bryn Char notes and the princess blanches at the idea. Don't worry, we're on the same side. She's a horror movie fan, Miro Noir whispers to Vernon, who suppresses a snort of amusement. No matter how much of a horror fan you are, few people want to be a character in such a movie. He gives Miro Noir a kiss before speaking up. We should also have a 3rd team on standby to reinforce one side or the other in case there's something unexpected. Better to have a bored 3rd team on standby than have a team ambushed or blindsided and have no backup nearby. Vernon calls out to the front. Miro Noir nods energetically. A good point. So, here's what we're going to do. Koga begins. She moves with a sort of slowness that comes from a woman who can only get the D from her over-the-counter and black market companions. Maybe if she'd taken something from school other than the lunch money of the smaller Apuk girls or bothered to do anything with her time, she would be somewhere else, but she just couldn't be asked. She had a good thing going. Check the drop point, and if there's anything good in there, bring it to the safe house. She'd never even seen the field girls. All her job was to sleep on things and make sure that no one got anything they weren't supposed to. Opening the door to the mobile home, she sighs as the lights refuse to turn on. Great, now she actually has to do something. There's a slight whimper, high-pitched but with a distinctly masculine tint to it. Her eyes widen and she rushes into the small building, quickly making her way to the bed area where such a thing would be stored. There's something bundled in the middle of the bed and whimpering. She licks her lips in anticipation. Someone grabbed a fun-sized package. Savoring the moment, she reaches out and pulls back the blanket with a deliberate predatory glee. Then, as it gets close to the little boy, she whips it off entirely and pauses. A bundle of stones and vines. There's something vaguely glowing in the middle, and she reaches in to pull out a small device making a whimpering sound. The door closes behind her, and what little light there is vanishes entirely. She breathes out a tongue of flame with blue flecks in it, and chokes as she's face to face with a glaring Apuk man with night black hair and tiny vines writhing along his skin. Bone chewer, she chokes out before collapsing in a dead faint, leaving Bryn Char both amused and disappointed with the results. Please tell me that the others haven't just outright collapsed. He whispers to the dark forest vines growing out from under his clothing to offer him not only protective armor, but an emergency weapon whenever he should need it. Yes and no. We've encountered no meaningful resistance, but we're going to need to dunk these women in the river when we're done. Princess Duro Mary scared them senseless, and my vines had them literally pissing themselves. Dale's voice echoes in his mind, and Bryn Char lets out a rueful chuckle. Well, if that's done, then me and my beloved will be having a little lunch date as we wait for the interrogation to finish. And do take your time. No rush. Vernon's voice sounds out through the woods, and Bryn Char sighs. It's nice that he's so happy, but does he have to be so upfront about it? He wraps the criminal bitch that's also likely a pedophile in vines and warps her to the cave in the dark forest that they'd been using for interrogation. He can sense that she appears right next to the other three small fry. Well, that was disappointing, he remarks as he exits the mobile home. Princess Hilgjut hops down from the nearby rooftop and says nothing. She's still alive. I'm gonna save my wrath for the higher-ups. The scumbags at the lower level, the carrion feeders and opportunists will be handed over to whatever authorities have the time for them. I'm going after the big prizes. So if I go in there, she asks cautiously. A few deliberately tripped circuit breakers and a collection of rocks and branches in the shape of a child. No blood, no death. I heard of your reaction earlier, and this is a big change. I've had time to let myself think. The fires of rage still burn, but I'm going to make them burn cold. Or rather, they will burn so hot and so cleanly that all my foes will feel as cold, like taking a blue flame to the back of someone not fire-resistant. Just blue? Hilgjut asks softly. Green flames radiate so much heat that they die too fast. You need it colder, but red, yellow, and orange are so cold that the pain overwhelms them. I generally just kill or defeat my opponents. Messing around is a good way to get hurt. Hilgjut notes, and Bryn Char just raises an eyebrow. He says nothing and holds out his arm for her to take. She puts her hand on it in trepidation, and reality shifts to find her in the forest again. He steps away and walks into the village, lost in his own mind and memories. The information they pulled out of the criminals wasn't much. The cell was small and disconnected from the rest. However, it did have the name of the regional boss. The entire gang was decentralized and designed to move at the first sign of trouble. Understandable considering that Bryn Char put not only a massive target on them centuries ago, but had placed a sense of paranoia into their society. This leads to Koga and many men questioning why the Orega girls would even still exist at this point. Surely, rebranding or altering the organization would be smart, if not dissolving it entirely. They're likely copycats leaning on the reputation of the ones I slaughtered long ago. The name Orega Girls is burned into Apuk cultural memory, especially thanks to those idiot movies. Surely there's something similar in human-controlled areas, some names or ideas that meant something in the past, and someone takes them up to revive it for their own gain. Brinchar remarks when the question starts fluttering around. In all likelihood, the ones that got away from me after my rampage have gotten themselves killed by now. Do you regret that? Vernon asks him, and Brinchar blinks in confusion. Do you regret not getting each and every one? Oh yes, I even prepared a space for their skulls when it was over, but I'm still missing 5. Brinchar answers mildly as he thinks about the shrine he'd made to Zulchar. He had never seen the body, and his physical remains had been cremated to prevent possible plague. There was still one place, one small temple of memory left for his dear brother, forever incomplete by Brinchar's failure to honor him, and tragically needed for the world's failure to deserve someone so brave and selfless. Vernon says nothing as Brinchar gets a 1,000-mile gaze to his eyes and they start to water. He does, however, offer a handkerchief that is accepted when Brinchar is abruptly aware of the situation again. Keep it, Vernon says when it's offered back, and Brinchar nods. So, what's your plan? My plan? Brinchar asks. His voice is a little more hoarse than he likes. He swallows the sensations and presses down on his emotions. These girls are your enemies, even if copycats. We got the information out of them and are planning to move on to the regional leader soon. So what do you want to do with the small fry? Wrap them up and bury them to their necks in solid stone for the guards to find. The small-time thugs are just idiots. Too stupid, too worthless to waste our time on. You were right earlier. I need to be more picky in my targets. Can't let the real prizes escape because I'm wasting time and energy on the fools that can be replaced in moments. The ones that personally hurt you are not only long dead, but likely just dime a dozen thugs, or rather a tri-type per 10. That fits better. I understood either way, Brinchar notes as he thinks. How many layers do you think this goes? I got the impression that this overboss controls a single rural area. The higher the population, the more bosses will be needed, and each layer of boss will report to another until we get to the head. Eventually, we'll find the final level of them, and those will be the big ones. We get all the information we can and hit as many of them as possible. We'll tear this cancerous growth out by the roots. Burn it down from top to bottom? Brinchar asks, and Vernon nods. Yes, but we can't let them know we're coming or they'll go to ground. Of course, I'm glad you understand vengeance. I thought you were just a loving little fool head over heels for your wife and not much else. There's a reason humans are so good at restraining dark impulses, and it all boils down to practice. Well, hopefully I get to see what happens when it's let out for a walk. Oh no, you don't want that at all, believe me.